All right. Gosh, good afternoon, everyone out there, and welcome to the Leader Lowdown. I'm Joan Robinson, and I have a very special guest here today. You guys have probably seen me promoting the heck out of Mr. Rob Sperry. I call him the legend himself, and I'm so excited and honored, Rob, that you're with us here today. And I know there's so many people that are going to be tuning in and that are so excited to see you and hear you and all that. And what I'd like to do is just take a moment. Let's find out where some of these folks are tuning in from. Wave, Rob, wave. I didn't even give you a minute to breathe. No.
Well, I was just thinking right now, like different continents, what time it is,
Right?
if they're watching the live, if it's Australia, they're probably asleep. If it's Europe, it's, early evening. And we got the US, right? It may be lunchtime for you, or maybe you're having a little food coma right now.
Right. And I called our friend Sana Loneman over in Finland, and we're streaming into her group. They love you, and we're so excited. Her team is on fire. So we love Sana. She's been an amazing, friend, leader, and I know she was in Dubai. That's where I met her at your event.
That's where you went skydiving.
Yeah.
Right? With her.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a memory for sure. That really was. I was thinking when I was putting my makeup on this morning, I was thinking about you and about some of the different things. And remember that time when I dented your new Range Rover? That was one of the first, oh no, I dented Rob's car.
I have forgotten about it. Now it's all fresh. The car's gone now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Hey, my daughter topped you, just so that you know. When she was learning how to drive the Tesla, she's taking it and she's pulling in. She pulls in the garage, and I've told her this story about a friend of mine named Craig, where his daughter hit the accelerator instead of the brake. And so I'm telling her, so she's there to park, and she's like, well, how do I park this? It's a little different. You just press the button instead of, any, like sometimes you shift or whatever. You just press this button in and it's park. And so she's looking for him. Like, you put your foot on the brake, and what does she do? She puts it on the gas, and literally, luckily there was a ski rack there, and it's full metal that's completely dented and stopped it. So now you got this big old dent in the front, and it's not like it's massive. It's a couple of inches, right. But it's to get it fixed, because it's a Tesla. The hood alone, you have to redo the whole hood. There's no dent. Everyone says they can fix it. No one could, because it's aluminum. Oh. It's $3,300. So, yeah, she learned her lesson, and I just try to think, you know what? Maybe this will help her to be a safer driver. And so it's some blessings in disguise that I won't know about. That's the only thing that helps me sleep at night. So we're good.
She had kind of a Jones-sized dent on a little different car, though. No. Well, gosh, Rob, I want to dig right in. I know that you've got some really great information to share, and I know we have just about a half hour today. And what we're going to be talking about really is striking a balance. And I like to say this because I'm not really a firm believer of balance, but I think we're looking to learn a little bit more how to create a personal balance between team business and a person's or a leader's personal business. And I think what happens is oftentimes as we begin to scale or, go to different levels in the business, people tend to focus in one area or in another area, but the blend of both is really necessary in order to keep the momentum going and build. So I want to talk just a little bit about that. And maybe what you could do is just maybe start sharing from your own experience when you experience some of these things.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I just look at everything as a lot of times people create their vision, their dreams, their ambitions, their goals of why I'm going to do this, why I want to make this happen, right? Does your why make you cry? It's all about your why. Absolutely critical and important. But what happens is their why is what they really want. And how to achieve it a lot of times, right, is just becoming obsessed with the business, because you find this to be your best vehicle to do so. So they become so obsessed with the business that what happens is let's give an example of maybe your family is your why, Well,
Mhm.
they oftentimes lose their family and they lose that relationship with their family when in their minds they were doing it for their family. And
Mhm.
so that's where it's tough. And that's where, that's where I do it. We're not going to go into it. It's about an hour and a half training, but there's simple parts of it. And that's where I call it just creating the things that are most important in your life. And you put those are all part of your castle, and you list them 5, 6 things. And then you have to figure out ways to protect the castle, right? The wall, the moat,
Mhm.
the drawbridge, all of those things. And so, yeah, there's no such thing as balance, but why don't you just look at where you're the most out of balance in life, number one, and lift up from the bottom.
Mhm.
And number two is you're going to have things that are your focus. So it could be business is super important for you, but you don't want to lose sight of your family. Well, great. Go focus on your business. Go blitz. Go do maybe you're going to do a 2, 3 week run, maybe a 30-day run. But in the meantime, I don't want to lose sight of the things that matter the most. So I'm going to sit down with my family and say, hey, look, my wife, let's do date night like we always do. Let's make sure we do it every single week. I want to do something specific with the kids. Maybe it's they get home from school and I turn my phone off for a couple hours and I'm present with them. Maybe it's at night when they go to bed, but I'm being deliberate on, my why was an example, family, and the business is going to help fuel that why, but I don't want to lose it in the meantime. And so that's where you kind of go back and forth because we'll never ever be completely balanced, nor do we want to be completely balanced because certain things need more of our time and attention, and we need to prioritize as we go. And so that's what helps you out. And the other thing is Joan, you and I both know this because we've done it the wrong way and the right way. But wherever you are, be there. It's a Jim Elliott quote. Wherever you are, be there. Be present. So, you'll find that too often people think they're building the business, but then they're also with their family and they're actually doing a poor job at both. And
Mhm.
so just say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour with the family. And then after that, just an hour on the business. And so hyper focus on what you're doing, and you can spend the same amount of hours, 2 hours, 1 hour with one hour with the other, but you'll actually find that the caliber and quality of time is much higher and the results will be much better. The results on the relationships and the results on your business. And so those are things to really just keep in mind as you're trying to find at least some sort of balance as you go.
Yeah, I was just as I'm listening to you, I was thinking about, there was a time where, like you say, I mean, hey, I've made more mistakes than probably the majority of people and just keep suiting up, showing up and practicing, because every day is a new day. But I was thinking about, a lot of people that I work with unadmittedly. So, hey, if it's you could put a heart in the comments because this is something fairly simple, and Rob, you're alluding to it, but I find that a lot of even leaders don't do this, is keeping a schedule. So like you just said, an hour with family, an hour at the business, or you have a specific Tuesday night, your date night, and this, the amount of people that would actually have better quality time by creating a schedule. I don't care if it's on their phone. I don't care if it's on a paper, Franklin Covey, but prioritize those most important things, like Rob is saying, and schedule your time. I even schedule like the working out and all kinds of things. Because if I don't, I will forget, or it'll go away from my memory what is most important. And furthermore, I think what happens is if we're only doing our business like on the fly, and I do a lot of things on the fly, don't get me wrong, but if we're not, like, let's say in our inbox, connecting, Rob, you and I talked about this before we went live, we can be doing things behind the scenes that don't move the needle,
Yeah.
that don't offer, connection and relationship building things. And then we get kind of, all caught in what I would call like the weeds. Talk a little bit about that and how, when you're really on a limited time, you've got to be, I like what you said, hyper focused.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the other day. I coached both my son and daughter's high school tennis teams, and so I've got 4 kids. I do service for my church. I do every 3 weeks a teenage mastermind session. I had 26 kids there last night, and we went for about an hour and a half, and they stayed after half an hour. My point is I'm really busy. We're all busy. Just some of us are busy watching Netflix 8 hours a day, and some of us are busy doing other things, right? A job. Some of us, whatever it is, we're all busy. It's how you choose to use your time. And so
Right.
being very deliberate with your time and scheduling. I heard something once from they said that some of the presidents of the United States, like the old president of the United States, they used to schedule every 15 minutes. And this leader was saying, like, even if it's scheduling, taking a break,
Yeah.
and doing nothing, or even if you want to schedule where you literally get on social media and you're just like, it's whatever, doing nothing, it's worthless time. That's okay. And I think that's important just because one of the examples I like to give is, are you a firefighter or are you an architect? The firefighters are reactive to everything and they don't get as much done. Whereas from a business analogy standpoint, of course, we appreciate firefighters and they're extremely necessary in real life.
And we don't want any
I know.
emails. We don't want
Oh, my husband is a firefighter. How dare you? I'm like, no, we're not talking about that. Fighting fire is reactive, right? Or an architect. An architect's going to design what they want. Now, it's not going to always be perfect the first design. There's going to be mistakes, right? Setbacks. That's normal. And so you can get out of the weeds and actually make your business happen, you have to design and become the architect of what you really want to do. So if the number one income producing activity is talking to new people, making new invites about your products or your business, then my question would be is when are you doing it? Well, tomorrow. What time tomorrow? How long are you doing it?
Right.
Right? Because
how many connections are you making?
Yeah.
Specifics.
Because if you don't know, it's basically you're just, well, it's a good idea with no plan. That's like saying you want to build your dream house without the design.
Right.
You're not going to have your dream house without design. No one just starts building. Oh, let's just throw this up over here. And let's try this wall here. Should we do 6 foot, 8 foot?
Right.
What do you think? Right? You spend the time designing it. And then after it's designed, yeah, there could be little changes, but then it's focused on execution. And so I want all of you to look at it that way. If you want to get out of the weeds, is you create your priorities, and then inside of those, like maybe business should be a priority. Inside of business, what are those priorities? And it could be, well, making new invites. Okay, well, inside of that, when are you doing it? How long are you doing it for? Or do you have it scheduled out? Maybe it's you find that your energy drops after about 40 minutes. So maybe you do 3 different times during the day, 40 minutes. Maybe you find your energy levels are highest on Monday and you go for 3 or 4 hours on Mondays and you use, some of the other days as follow-ups. I'm just giving examples so you can follow the principles. The main thing is you got to figure out what works for you, but whatever works for you, you got to have it scheduled, because I don't see it really work for anyone at all that doesn't plan it and doesn't schedule it, because otherwise they're leaving it for chance. Because, at a job, we're told what to do by our parents, our teachers, our bosses, right? And now we get to do what we want when we want. And so it's just kind of, I'll put that off because you're not going to get fired. And so it never happens.
Well, and I was looking at my own, reflecting on my own kind of challenges. And sometimes I'm one of those people, I don't work 8 hours straight. I need to go a certain amount of time and then I break, and I might listen to a podcast. I might go eat something. I might phone a friend, I might do a load of laundry, but
that's too far.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Well, hey, but whatever I'm doing for the time block, I'm kind of like, I like the time block. Then I can, if I'm a little bit maybe procrastinating, because usually I procrastinate if I don't know how to do something very well, or if it's something that's making me uncomfortable. I just look at the time and I go, okay, you could do anything for 15 minutes. You could do anything for 30 minutes, but it's scheduled time. And, I think that the majority of people, that are challenged are having maybe a tougher time really prioritizing what's most important. And I'm a big fan of the reverse engineering the goals too. If you have a goal to make a certain amount of money, well, there's activities that you have to do to, close sales and sell products, recruit people, whatever it is, right? So let's talk a little bit about the specifics of, now, let's say somebody is just, maybe they're a beginning leader, or maybe they're just scaling their business. And I want to talk about like personal business, meaning your personal business when it comes to selling and recruiting, and then actually working with a team. Because sometimes you and I both know, and I've been there a time or two and had to reboot or re-engage, is we can kind of get a little bit going on. Maybe we had a great month recruiting, we set these people up for success, and then we go into a little bit of that management mode. Talk to us about that, Rob, and
Yeah,
it's dangers, really.
it's pretty simple, but it doesn't feel like it at first because people, they want to be supportive, they want to be helpful, but also, let's be real. It's a lot easier to manage your teams and be there for them and how can I help you and anything you need and tag you in this training and did you listen to this podcast? Like all that stuff, you feel really good and warm and fuzzy and you're supportive, but that's easy. The fearful stuff, the scary stuff, the hard stuff is reaching out to new people with the possibility of being rejected.
Right.
And so, for many of us, we put off what we neglect what we know to be the most important thing. And then we try to fill those gaps in that time with being busy, and we confuse being busy with being productive.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that as you're building your business, the difference between the personal production and team production, where the team production is okay, is when they're putting you in front of brand new people, because new people are the lifeblood of this business. And so if I am working with Joan and, Joan's put me in front of brand new people and she's on my team, well, then I'll count that as a little bit towards the personal production because, it's new people. But if I'm doing a training on the comp plan and on the products and the 62 magical ingredients and the pending patents, right, and like the new incentive trip and let's do personal, I'm not saying that stuff's not important, but I don't consider that in the core highest income producing activities, because let's be honest, most of your teams and companies have systems. It's not that hard inside the Facebook groups to tag people, plug people into, shoot them a message, right? You have so much support that really doesn't take that long. And so if you're looking at a pie, 80% of that pie should be comprised of you spending your time on talking to brand new people. Yes, that could be invites for business or customers. And yes, that could be team members. Everything that falls outside of that, again, is important. But the 80% of talking to new people, that's the fire. And the 20% of all the other things that too many of us reverse the percentages, right? We spend, I spend so much time working the business, Joan. And what'd you do? Oh, I read 8 books this week. I listened to 7 of Rob's podcasts. I watched 10 of Joan's trainings. And you're like, oh. And so their pie is 95%. And they felt like they worked 60 hours for the week. But in reality, they talked to 2 brand new people. Mm-hmm. And so as long as you focus on that 80% number of talking to new people, because think about it. The more new people you talk to, the better odds are that someone will say yes. You find your voice, you get better at inviting, you get better at following up, you get better at closing, you get better at handling objections, you better just communication and articulating, right? Someone says yes, all of a sudden your confidence is increased, your credibility is increased. And so that's the core of the business. It's not necessarily easy because we're overcoming our fears, but it is really pretty simple as we go. And so, yeah, I did the same thing. I mean, my check started off pretty actually huge. I know that's not normal. Everyone loves sharing their $1 checks when they started. My check was pretty monstrous my first 3 weeks in network marketing. Mm-hmm. And then it went down and down. I had the opposite story, most people. Down to the point of I worked 80 hours a week, made less than $400 in my 5th month. The whole month, less than $400, 80 hours a week. I mean, that's 320 hours I worked. I mean, I was making just barely over $1 an hour. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's just nuts.
Yeah. And, sometimes what I think people, I don't think they realize, because they do get caught up in like, there's 30 tasks that they have to do. I got to post, I got to engage, I got to do the, and here's the deal. Another mentor that I've chatted with, and I like the way he says this, he says, all of the other things other than getting leads, talking to people, being in the inbox, you know, making sales, all of the other things are really extracurricular,
Yeah.
right? So what would you say, Rob, to somebody that, you know, they're having a tough time identifying who to work with in their team when it comes to developing leaders?
Yeah, and I'll answer that. And then Terry asked the question, what did I not do? You know, what made my income drop? I went into management mode. First
Oh,
month, I knew nothing. And so all I did is talk to brand new people. I spent 99.9% of my time. And then after that, I'm like, I don't want to deal with these rejections from friends and family members and people I don't know. So I became the super supportive upline, and I spent 99% of my time supporting everyone and didn't talk to any new people for about 4 or
yeah.
5 months. And
Yeah.
so
And
that's why.
hey, I've done that too. I've done it too. And then kind of went like, oh my gosh, what's
Yeah.
going on here? You know,
Yep.
because it slows the momentum. Hey, so if anybody out there has ever went into management mode, put a 1 in the comments, because it's not uncommon. You don't have to feel bad about it. You got to learn from it, is the way I see it. And
Yep.
what would you do, Rob? How do you get back on track?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is number one, it starts with awareness, because if you're not aware, it's impossible to correct. Number two, after the awareness, is you have to create a new, even if you call it a mini vision. Sometimes, you know, I think the big vision's incredible, but like a mini vision of what do you really want, right? It's great that you say, I want to be like retired and travel the world. Okay, but to get there, let's create a mini vision of what you want. Maybe it's an extra $300 to $400 a month so you can take the family on a trip.
Yeah.
And so you create the mini vision. Number three is I would create some basic accountability. You know, I've seen different studies, 96% more success when you have an accountability appointment, 97% more success when you have a specific accountability partner. So number three is make sure that you create accountability. And then the last thing is give yourself grace. You know, guilt manipulated turns into shame. Guilt is good. I think these days the world loves to say how, go, never feel guilty, be who you are. Well, how do we know right from wrong if we don't have any guilt? But guilt manipulated consumes us, becomes shame, where we feel like we're not worthy and we're not good enough. If you have too much shame, that means your mindset is focused on the past. And the goal is not to really focus too much on the past. It's learn from the past, borrow the vision from the future, but focus on the present. And so you use guilt for awareness rather than having it turning into shame where you're not worthy and you beat yourself up. And so it's done. Yesterday's done. Whatever you did, good or bad, it's done. What can you do right now today? What can you make happen this week, right? Today, this week, this month. And those are some of the key things that I do in general, always with business that help me out, because I still have things I want to do and I don't get to, and I got deadlines, and I'm like, hey, I did my best. What could I have done a little bit better though? What can I learn from? And let's move forward. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. So I want to talk, Rob, now, maybe just our last 5 minutes, about accountability, because I find that, again, coaching team members and often even coaching clients, they will say to me things like, yeah, you know, it's really difficult to get my team to do what they need to do. And accountability, in my opinion, is, I mean, I simply ask people, how would you prefer I hold you accountable to your goal? I mean, I just want to know, what do they want, right? So then I don't ever have to feel uncomfortable. But Rob, what is your take on accountability? How would you, or what would you suggest that people could do to hold their people accountable to what they want?
Yeah, I've seen all different things, just like you said. I've seen people submit as simple as creating a Google form, and they submit on a weekly basis some of the things they've done. I've seen people declare it in a Facebook group where they want to create, you know, mini victories or win streaks. And so, you know, it's just one dedicated post, and then everybody goes in and dedicates what they want to do for the week. And then they update, they can reply to the comment or update, you know, what they've done. So they're continually updating as they go. So I've seen that.
Bless you.
A little break there.
Please. Oh my God, is your hair still on?
It is. Got it.
I was just kidding. Okay,
Got a haircut. So those are things that you can do. Other things you can do, and again, you have to figure out what works. I've seen people do phone calls. I've seen people do Zoom. Maybe it's once a month, once a week. But if you want to make it the bare minimum, that makes
yeah.
it just so simple that you're like, okay, those are good in depth, but what could I do that would be so easy for accountability? Commit to sending a text every single night to your accountability partner. And that text needs to be really easy. You can have days where it's longer or voice messages, but at the bare minimum, tell your accountability partner how you did as far as talking to new people. Because if we know that's the one thing we need to do, then let's at least report the one thing we need to do. So I could say, Joan, today was a bust. Didn't make it happen, but you know what? Didn't talk to anyone new, but tomorrow I know is going to be better. I already have it's scheduled out for 45 minutes. Or today, Joan, I reached out to 6 new people. My goal was 3, so I doubled my goals, and really excited about that. Got one person that's really interested, and then tomorrow, I plan on following up with all of them. So
Yeah.
again, that's not very hard, but if you do that on a daily basis, it'll make a difference. And then the last thing on that is don't lie. Something like,
Yeah.
of course I would lie. No, don't white lie.
Yeah.
Don't
Right.
pretend like you kind of talked to someone because you were at the
You did.
supermarket talking really loud to a family member about your products, and you hope somehow they overheard you and they're going to join your business. Like, that's not a
Right.
direct invite. You know what a real invite is and what isn't. So don't white lie.
Right. I was just thinking too, accountability. So I'm talking to the leaders out there. It's not your job to make your team members accountable. It's their job to be accountable to you. So, in other words, let's say you got 4 or 5 people, heading toward a goal and you're like, "Oh, I didn't hear from them today." Let's say. Well, that's on them. Don't you agree, Rob? I
Yeah.
mean, we got to be empowered. We don't want to enable people.
Yep. We're leaders, right? We need to lead
Right.
through influence, not through title. We're not anyone's bosses. So we're trying to help the best that we can. But in the end, everyone needs to take responsibility.
Yep, I agree. Okay, listen, I know your time is tight and I may stay on just a bit longer to share a couple other details, but I want to talk, Rob, a little bit because you've got some amazing events, and I know I've been privileged to be a part of your breakthrough events, and every single event just is outstanding. And I just want to share to all the leaders and listeners out there that the breakthrough events, why do I go? Why do I keep going? Why am I like almost like a little groupie there or something? Well, the truth is, number one, I love the connections, and all of the different backgrounds, all the different, leaders that come, and every trainer delivers something that even for me, after multiple years in the business, I take notes all the time. I mean, I'm always getting a little nugget or a tip. And part of my own journey is developing myself to be just a little better, right? Every day. And so I also schedule personal development. And to me, even though the trips are fun and we have a great time, right? It's also a learning thing. So talk to us a little bit about what people can expect. And I'm going to drop the link in the comments because I know there's another one coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So it's fun because we had last time 20 plus companies coming. We should have even more represent this next time. So think of it as a convention on steroids, because you go to a convention, you hear your best of the best speakers. Well, imagine hearing the best of the best speakers from all different companies,
Right.
all different perspectives. And, in it, we make sure that company conventions are by far the most important. So I'm not downplaying, I'm not putting those down, but let's be honest, as great as company conventions can be, sometimes you got recognition for 5 hours and you're fake smiling and you're like, oh my goodness. And then you got to talk about sometimes the science for the products for another 3 hours. And you're like, I was done after like 30 minutes. Right. And then you've got like all these, corporate politics they have to play. We don't have to do any of that. We just get straight to content to help build your belief and help build your business. And hearing from the best speakers in the world will really empower you on what it takes and how to do it. And so it's been phenomenal. Each one, we take feedback from it, and we don't say, hey, this was great. We say, okay, that's great, you liked it, but what can we do to make it better? I mean, I just went to lunch with one of the speakers yesterday that had, I think, the second most amount of people there. And I said, lay it out for me. What'd you like? And he's like, I like this and I like that and I like this. I'm like, okay, that's enough. What could we do better? I'm like, and you don't need to sugarcoat it. What can we do better? So we constantly do that. And what I love the most is we've seen tremendous results, because a lot of times people walk away from it, this is so great, but then they don't do anything. And we really heavily focus on actionable items, ways to take action so that post-event you make it happen. So that event's October 28th and 29th. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's really close to the airport, easy to get there. And we're going to just smash this next one, because I am so lucky and blessed to have such incredible, phenomenal, human beings and speakers like Joan. I mean, I think she spoke with the last 3, so it's been amazing.
Oh, well, I loved it. Well, listen, Rob, I know you have a lot going on, and I want to wish your son and the tennis, I don't know if it's a championship or what's going on, but good luck out there at that. And the last thing I want to say is thank you for being such an incredible man, truly, in this industry. And your example, you're unwavering, you show up, you're there, you have integrity, and you're also one of the kindest people I know. So Rob, thanks for being here. And I just want to, I wish I could reach out and give you a little hug, but I'm giving you a virtual hug. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for who you are. I always try to surround myself with much better people than I am, and it helps lift me up. So thank you. And you are all lucky that you get to hear from Joan. I know she's staying on, but thanks for having me on, Joan. I appreciate it.
All right. Awesome, Rob. See ya.
Well, see ya.
Okay, guys. So what an incredible 30 minutes. Just having the opportunity to have Rob here. He is a sought after speaker, coach, and trainer. And if you or any of your team members have not been to a breakthrough event or worked personally with Rob, I would definitely invest in yourself and make that happen. All right. I want to answer a few other questions, because I really made an effort to want to hear from all of you out there. And what I mean by that, when I say make an effort, is I put a post that said, hey, if you've got questions, you want things answered. I knew Rob had limited time, so I gave him a few of the questions, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the questions, like how to work with your team when we're going through tough times. All right. So let's talk just a moment about that. And for those of you out there, maybe put a 2 in the comments. If you are challenged at times having communication with your team, maybe with leaders, and there's tough times maybe out in the world, maybe something in business. If that's you, put a 2 in the comments. I do like to go back through and see what I can do to support you in message you in your DMs. So I want to share, though, a couple tips that I have for you. So let's say, you've got people that are, really challenged by the outside influences. All right. I want to give you a couple things. First thing is help them focus on what's right. Help them redirect their focus to what's right. Now, some of you might be going, well, what would that be? I want to give you some questions to ask people. So let's say that somebody comes to me with a challenge. I don't want to poo-poo their challenge. I don't want to tell them that their challenge isn't important, because it is. And I want to create a safe place for my leaders and team members to share that they're challenged, right? So that I could help them break through it. And I believe you do too. So one of the things I will do is I will let them talk about their challenge for a couple minutes, and I hear them and I empathize. I don't feel sorry for them, because challenges, guys, make you stronger. But I empathize. And then I begin asking a lot of questions. What is it that you want? What is it that you're focused on? If the scenario could be different, How would you like to see it play out? All right. So think about what that person is challenged with and support them to redirect their thinking to what they want and to what it is that's most important so that they can kind of refocus in an area that will be productive to them. Now, I also have some questions that are around, people complaining or, I'm not a top seller. Nobody wants to join my team. I can't add people to my team. Nothing works for me. Listen to those comments just for a minute, because on occasion, you're going to get a couple team members or people that just are in that place. And everybody knows that, or I shouldn't say everybody, but those of you out there that work with me, that's part of the reason why I designed these cards, flip the switch, to, again, redirect people's thinking and focus in another area. So when you have team members that are focused on what's not happening, if they keep talking about it, what I want everyone here to realize is that's what gets bigger. That's what amplifies. So let's say that somebody says to you, nobody wants to join me or nothing's working for me. I would then start talking about, let's talk about what would make someone want to join you. Let's talk about things that are going right. So again, this is kind of similar to what I just shared about tough times. Helping your team members see the things that they can control versus the things that are out of their control. And that's going to bring me, because we've got another question here around beliefs. So a belief, I'm kind of all over the board, but I want to answer this last question. What are beliefs? Beliefs are just simply something that you tell yourself over and over again. Some people can hang on to beliefs from childhood. Typically, we believe what we're told by teachers, parents, mentors, coaches. We believe, right? But what if that belief is something that you've taken on that is not serving you? What if it's something like a real limiting belief, like nobody wants to work with me? Yep, that's just what it is. Nobody wants to work with me. And we sell ourselves on the excuse. How do we overcome, or how do we reestablish a new way of thinking? First, what I want to just make mention is it's not uncommon for beliefs or, things that we've told ourselves for, years over and over to continue to reappear, which is why I like to say we have to practice. You got to practice talking to yourself. So if I have a belief that's not serving me, I can take a moment and pause. Rob talked about being aware. You got to be aware that your mindset or what you're telling yourself or what you're believing isn't working for you. And then you get to claim a new belief. Now, you guys are probably like, this is the third kind of way she's telling us that, because this is how important this is to the success of your overall business. Okay. So be in a belief that is going to serve you. Establish a belief that is going to serve you. And many people say, well, I'm not that thing yet. I'm not the leader that I want to be yet. It doesn't matter what you want to be or how long you think it's going to take to be that. You've got to claim that now. And I do those through I am statements. Okay. So there's a lot of different tools. There's a lot of different tips. If you need mindset readjustment, every Monday I do the morning motivation. I'll drop that link in there. You can get registered and you'll get a reminder. It's a free training and people love that because it really starts their day out on the right foot. And, keep yourself surrounded by things and people and, in activities that are lifting you up. instead of bringing you down. Somebody mentioned to me, and I like this, they said, how do you get up from the bottom of the barrel? How do you get up from the bottom of the barrel? It's a long climb up. It's like, quit holding on to the bottom of the barrel. Now, I know some of you guys are like, huh? Quit holding on. That's what we do. We just hold on and we replay over and over. All right, guys. I don't want to be redundant, but I hope that this end part was a little bit helpful, and I hope I answered your questions. I know that, right now things are challenging in some areas of your business. Business changes. Different things may become more important to you, but I want to challenge all of you leaders out there. You don't have to know all the answers. Certainly, I don't know all the answers, but put your best foot forward to show up for your teams and be there. Empathize with them, but help them with a new perspective. Again, I want to thank Rob Sperry for joining. And for those of you out there that got some value from this training, please put down in the comments, what did you get from the training? What was the most helpful for you? And tag your teams in the training, and have an incredible Wednesday. And we'll see you here next week on the Leader Lowdown. Bye, guys.